Why should this housing project go next to the Stanley, Becky?
No, thank you for having me on. I'm happy to talk about the project. This is a project that we've been working on since 2015. So we've been in Utica for a long time, working with supporters of ours who really feel like that our building would be beneficial for Utica. Part of that, the interest was having the project downtown. Genesee is an ideal location for us to really connect with people and other arts facilities. So there's always been that interest. We've been a part of a variety of plans on that lot for a few years now. At one time, part of the One World Garden, we were an element on that, and then also part of the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. That's bringing $10 million into the city of Utica for development. So we've always felt that it'd be very beneficial to be in an area that really has that focus. It became available for us in talking with the city that would be an area, understanding that there are sensitivities for parking downtown, specifically on that lot.
Yeah.
The whole time we've been trying to minimize our impact on that lot as possible, understanding those concerns. So we'll only be taking up a portion, just kind of a sliver of about a half-acre space on the parking lot that faces Genesee.
So you're saying it will not eliminate that parking lot?
No. That would be a really big building for us.
Okay.
No. We would be displacing parking spaces, of course, by putting our building there. But the city, in response, is developing additional space behind where the parking currently is. So the net gain in parking spaces would be about 5 spaces after our building is constructed. Where we're working with people to identify needs is just kind of making sure that there's the right access on the parking lot, but also knowing that there'll be a certain amount of spaces that our tenants would need parking for. So that's what we're working through with the Stanley right now.
How many tenants?
There will be 40 units.
It'll be 40 units. So that parking lot's not very big. And I'm not suggesting that your building would take up the whole lot, but you say you're only taking a slice of that parking lot. A sliver.
Yes, a sliver.
Well, for a 40-unit building,
40 units.
That sounds like a pretty big building.
It's a 4-story building. It's really compact. We've tried to minimize, where we can, and we're not, kind of developing kind of a, landscape area around it. We are to fit into the landscape, but, happy to always share site plan, but it's really just kind of a front portion of that lot. There still would remain about 140 spaces of parking.
So you said the city's going to go ahead and your understanding is the city's going to go ahead and kind of expand that lot in the back, and then it'll be actually a net gain of 5 parking spots. Let me ask, why don't they just build the building you want to put in the area that they're going to expand the parking lot?
Sure. Well, it's just basic urban design. That's not usually what you do for, you've got such a nice downtown with all your buildings and just kind of the goal in a lot of the elements of the city plans, as well as the DRI, is to really activate the streetscape by having, continuing the street there and having that presence. It really creates kind of a sense of security and feeling there. And so even though we would be on the front of the lot there would be still access under our building just in the same exact location that there currently is. We've been trying to fit in with what's already there and taking into account kind of how the lot is currently being used.
And the lot's owned by the city? Would you be buying the land from the city or from the Stanley?
City.
It'd be from the city. The Stanley does not own that parking lot, nor do they lease the parking lot.
And I believe the Stanley has come out against this project. Is that true?
Yes, they have concerns. So they're not against our project. They're supportive of the arts. They understand what they do, and so we do, and it's something, in any other place, people would really look to locate those types of facilities together because they really do support each other. So they're not against our project. They have concerns regarding parking availability, but also kind of parking for their trailers. And so we have met with them, and we are going to be having further conversations with them and the city, because our goal is to really work together. We're not here to be adversarial. We want to be able to find a path together.
There are those that are saying that will destroy the opportunity for those trailers to get in, and would limit the size of the shows that would be able to come into the Stanley. You're saying that you're working with the Stanley to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yep. They've raised those concerns to let us know that is an issue. And so we are working to arrange a time for us all to get on site together and to be able to plan that out. So we're actively working to try to figure out a good path forward. So
to say it would take up, this you really can't say right now where the it's going to utilize that parking lot, but you can't say at this point because that's not finalized. The obviously the whole project is not completely finalized, but your design of how much space you would use has not been finalized yet.
Well, we have schematic drawings, so we have a sense of what the building would be in that location.
Would it take the whole front? Would it take the whole front of that parking lot?
The front of the east area.
It'll be the front part. And then, where are you from, Becky? Are you originally? Are you from here? Where are you from?
No, I am from Minneapolis. Artspace is a Minneapolis-based nonprofit, but I did go to Syracuse for undergrad, so I am very familiar with the area.
But I would say to you, though, in Minneapolis, when you go to a show, downtown Minneapolis, I've never been to Minneapolis, but I hear it's really wonderful. So when you go to a show,
catch a great fire out there.
You usually park, and then you have to walk. You do know that around here, we don't wait for anything. We don't wait in line to get anywhere. There's no line, no waiting. That's our motto. Does that frustrate you a bit that we seem to be an area that go to New York City, go to a show? I mean, getting to it is difficult. A lot of people use public transportation just because they don't want to worry about figuring out where to park. Does that frustrate you a bit that we're a different breed up here?
No, I can understand. I've worked in varieties of cities, and then when you're used to certain structure and the way things are, sure, you can compare it to larger cities, but that's not how your city is and how people live. I can appreciate that. It is a challenge, trying to kind of to work with it. From our perspective, we understand that there are 1,300 off-street parking spaces, public parking spaces within a 5-minute walking distance. So when you look at that, you say, well, there's plenty of availability of parking, but still understanding the sensitivities. I know that it's cold. I've lived in many cold climates, and sometimes, you just don't want to be able to walk that. Well, it's just trying to figure out kind of the path forward and how the city wants to develop the city.
If you've ever been to a concert at the Dome, which I've been to many, and you say that...
Yeah, I was going to say you went to Syracuse.
Went to Syracuse. There's nothing worse than parking at the bottom of the hill over near Adams, is it Adams Street there? And walking up that University Hill and then taking a right and walking all the way down to the Dome. And it's usually windy and freezing cold when they have those shows. But that's really what people do around here. We're just so not used to long walk. We park right outside the place, and
Well, sure, and granted, and if you're going to a concert in the Stanley, not everybody, of course, would be able to park in that lot.
True, no
so
doubt
it's kind
about
of a balance of understanding.
Yep.
We feel I understand that other people's concerns in parking and daily parking, and that's what we're trying to working to address. The broader concerns are just kind of working with Stanley and making sure that they're minimally impacted.
All right. Andrew.
Even with the Boilermaker, I'll just quickly say, they said marathon. We're doing 15K.
That's right.
We're
That's
not
right.
running
26.2.
We are our own breed up here, I'm telling you. Okay. Andrew.
So one of the questions or offerings that people have, and that's with any project that happens to you, because why that location specifically, and why not renovate an older building?
Sure.
We had a candidate for council at large who was formerly on the council, Sam Testa, saying, why not take some of the blighted properties in Utica and do this project there?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We were did a lot of site analysis over the years. As I mentioned, we've been there since 2015. part of it was a part of a preliminary feasibility visit that we did where we gather information about potential lots. And so you go and you do a tour of, anything and everything. And so, that's what a lot of the focus was on. And it was existing buildings. And then when you further kind of study the area more, you go into a market study and, study more of those lots and what makes sense. Yeah. I can tell you that we went to the Wilcar building on Broad Street. We went to Oneida Square, Globe Mills, DeSalles. Those are some of those buildings that you're trying to find the right size. What's the condition of the building? What's the location? Ideally it's a walkable building or, maybe for transit and things like that we find is important for our residents. And so, we do these analysis, but, oftentimes something's too large. There's multiple owners or just it's not available for purchase or cost. And so you do that whole analysis and it just, nothing was turning up. And so, and working with the city, that was an option. So that seemed like there was the path forward. And from our perspective and from others that did want it downtown and close to other facilities, that's what seemed to make the most sense.
All right, I have Jim on the line right now. He is from No Artspace Downtown and would like to... Oh, I'm kidding. Did you have something?
I did.
I wanted to
just one more thing. Did you say it was the DeSales building that you looked at? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding you. All right, 3 things quick. Okay. The cost to build, will they be renting or is there a stipend that they basically get to live off that pays their rent? And where are these people from?
And would it technically be Section 8 housing?
Yeah, so no, it's not Section 8 housing. Okay. This is workforce housing. Okay. So there is no stipend. There is no voucher for it. What it is housing. You have tax credit. I'll say it very simply, tax credits through the state that allows for financing the project that allows us then to rent the units at a lower established price through the tax credit program. Right. By doing that, people are able to pay, less than what would be market rent, which, these are people that are going to be having jobs. They, maybe they have an opportunity to not work quite as many jobs and be able to focus on their art. But these are very much, working families. The people that are going to be living in there are, artists, a variety of artists.
So I guess the reason I asked the question was I remember several years ago, Sculpture Space was doing like an artist residency type of a program. Sure. Is this college students who are interested in the arts, or are these from people who are from overseas, from other countries, who are established artists who are looking for something new to play with, for lack of a better term?
No, these are our established artists. So these are, residency program is something where somebody comes in, lives for a small time, and moves out. These are people that would be living in these units for from 1 year to beyond. It's like a traditional, apartment in that respect. Right. But these are people that have an interest in their art, want to pursue their art. They don't necessarily make any income from their art. They could have other jobs that support them. But it's somebody that wants to be a part of this artist community. We did a market study as part of our work, and we had almost 600 people respond to the survey. Of that, there were 161 people that were interested in relocating to an artist live-work community in Utica, and half of those were from Utica, but half of the people lived outside Utica. So it's both artists within Utica who are interested, but also people that would be interested to relocate.
And cost to build? The cost for your project?
The total development cost is about $14 million. All
right. Were any of the other business owners...
That got a whistle, by the way.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Were the other business owners, some of that were in the area, private investors who had already put money into that area, surrounding restaurants like Lotus Garden, were they a part of the process? Did you discuss this with them?
No, we're working with people now. We're still quite, early in the process. So we're working to connect, obviously, as you can imagine, it's been a challenge, to get the connection that we really would like to have with COVID. It kind of put off some of those. So we're working hard now to really connect with people in a way, that will work going forward.
I have, we're trying to get everything in as quickly as we can, because I do have some people with some questions. Somebody's saying, is this a nonprofit? Also, what about the old YWCA?
The old YWCA.
That's being used by
Yeah,
the
isn't it-
YMCA is already being used.
The YMCA
I don't
is
know
the
where the
Veterans
YW
Center.
is.
The YW is just around the corner from Genesee Street. It's where the pool is. I remember because that's where I took swimming lessons.
Okay.
But isn't that being used by YWCA in the domestic violence? Aren't they still in that building?
I'm not sure. The one
And
behind
then-
there, yeah.
Becky, I would ask you to be really fair on this. I want to ask you about I talked to an economic development person who said open air parking is not something that represents a thriving city. It is something that is developers oftentimes or creative people who are trying to create an image of downtown, a vibe, a general, really what you're talking about, this vibe that you're trying to build downtown, that shows progress and shows a vibrant city. Is that a part of the reasoning? And does your background tell you that open air parking lot is more of an eyesore than anything else?
It's not necessarily an eyesore. But it's not something that in other cities I'd say that you're is not a good focal point, I'd say, for a downtown and
Right.
kind of the streetscape. So, I mentioned us building in front of it. The parking can still remain, but it kind of
Goes behind
continues
the
that
building.
streetscape.
Right.
And so, ours would, of course, have be landscaped and really connected to it. There's commercial space. It creates activity. It goes to the whole eyes on the street. You're going to have people living there, and it's just going to have a new energy. And also, those are going to be people that are going to be going to the businesses downtown and frequenting them. We
Yeah.
have art galleries that we put into all of our buildings that allow the residents to display their work and also engage with the community for events. So you're going to be creating additional activity there.
Wow.
Downtown businesses should welcome that, and a lot of people also then choose to relocate closer to our buildings because of if there's similar type interest. We've
Yeah.
had that happen in many other cities. We've done that in Patchogue and in Buffalo, and that's why we were invited to Utica.
Okay.
There's a really strong arts community here, and it just seemed to make the most
Yeah.
sense to really kind of activate that street.
I don't know how you understood my question with the way I butchered it, but you did it far more eloquently than I did, and that's really where I was going. That it represents a thriving downtown. An open parking lot does the exact opposite of that, is what I was trying to say. But you handled it much better than I did there. Andrew, do you have something?
We did have someone that thought maybe that in addition to just regular parking spots, that the handicap accessible parking would become very restricted. And there's a lot of older people that would attend shows and things at the Stanley.
Yeah, no, those all remain. We've just taken those that are in front in Genesee and put those right behind our building so it's really kind of close up to the front there, and it will connect to that area. So those just get shifted back a little bit, but
right.
They're still right there.
Tom is in Utica with a question. Tom, you're on with Becky Carlson, St. Clair from Artspace, and of course the topic is the housing project downtown next to the Stanley.
Yeah, this has been a big secret and is getting popped on us all of a sudden. I mean, the people of the city, not necessarily our supposed representatives. But when did this start? What has the transparency process been as far as informing us at every step of the way so that you can have input? And also, very critical, I'd like to get you to put a map online of all these supposed available parking spaces that you've come up with, because I know one that you might be counting that probably, well, right now we're very constricted to the Masonic Temple, which has events going on at night and daytime and everything else, that as far as I'm speaking as a former commander of Knights Templar here that meets there, we probably aren't going to be able to yield those spots. So I'd like to see you put up a map online of all those available parking spots that you're talking about being available for
all right,
for Stanley events. I'm concerned about the Stanley. You might, I'd hate to have them have to. Why don't you tear down this? Never mind. forget it. That was
Okay.
going to be a cranky comment.
Okay.
But you're
all
going to
right.
restrict Utica's number one downtown draw by putting up something that's going to take up parking space, and it might be better elsewhere. It's just one of those peekaboo things that comes up on top of the people of Utica without advance warning.
Tom, to be fair, is it her responsibility to make sure the public is that this is transparent?
No, it's our
not hers.
representatives.
Right. That's on. I think it's an unfair question for her.
Well, she has the contacts.
True.
And
All right.
she knows who she was contacting.
Let me let her.
And then we'll go. All right, thank you.
Let me let her answer that.
The parking thing is big. I need to find out about that.
Becky, I'll let you handle all that. And what about a map? Is there something out there where you can show the parking spots that you're actually talking about?
So what I'm referring to, just for clarity on those spots, was a traffic study that was done, that we had done as part of our project for our site plan.
Okay.
So that has the analysis of the area and has that. I'm not certain if there's a map, but that's something, the parking is something that the city is looking to kind of coordinate and have better understanding about availability. So I'm not certain if there's a map to point to. It's just this is the traffic study that I'm referencing,
All right.
the number of spots.
Okay.
And then just how long we've been in the area. Again, we've been for 6 years. We've been meeting with lots of people during our feasibility study, our market study. Part of it has been we've had events at the Stanley at Munson Williams Proctor Institute. We really have connected with a lot of people. But on top of that, too, being part of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, we've been a part of that. And so there was a public open house. There's been a lot of opportunity to share all the projects that are part of that, which ours was one of those included. So it might be something that people are now paying attention to, but it's been around for about 6 years.
Well, we don't pay attention to things until we do. And then
until you're impacted.
And then we feel impacted. So
Yep.
Anybody with any other, and I appreciate, Becky, for that you're coming on and taking all of these questions. I do think, too, that we tend to, especially here, automatically think that this is being kept quiet from us versus an innocent view of this would be that the city was moving forward on a project that they thought was a positive project, didn't expect people to be against it, and then all of a sudden when people found out, they became against it, and everybody said, oh, you're trying to sneak this in and keep it from us. We automatically tend to go to that we're being duped here attitude. That just seems to be in our DNA as well here.
I agree.
I
agree. It doesn't mean that there was anything nefarious going on. I just want to say thank you to Becky for coming on.
Hold on, Andrew's not done.
Sorry. So we do have one more question. I think it was pretty valid. How many of the parking spots that remain will be dedicated to residents of that?
Yeah, so you're saying you're at a net gain of 5 parking spots, but then you're going to have people there most likely that will have cars. How many will be dedicated to the apartments?
We've talked about 40 or so for the units, and so kind of working with the city and kind of how that's put in there. But we're flexible in where the location of those are, so not necessarily needing it on the front parking lot there to allow greater access.
All right.
Yeah, it just seems like there's not going to be enough parking, but that's not Becky's issue, and I commend Becky for coming on the air and talking about it, which is something the representation from City Hall still won't do.
We have not been able to get them to come out and talk about it, so we appreciate your input here and giving us a little peek behind the curtain, Becky. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.